Being a member of the team, I have been privileged enough to interact quite frequently with our seniors. We all have learned a lot from you, and many of you have inspired us in different ways. We felt like one integrated family together. Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. One among them is our engineer, Saleh Bin Ali Sahab. He is a design division manager in V3 Middle East engineering consultant, Jeddah. He is going to deliver a technical talk in engineering ethics. Engineering is an important and learned profession. As a member of this profession, engineers are expected to exhibit the highest standard of honesty and integrity. Engineering has a direct and vital impact on the quality of life for the people. Accordingly, the service provided by the engineers requires honesty, impartiality, fairness and equity, and must be dedicated to the protection of the public health, safety and welfare. Engineer must perform under a standard of professional behavior that requires adherence to the highest principle of ethical conduct. Now I would like to call upon Engineer Saleh Bin Ali for the presentation on engineering ethics.
For giving the introduction of not me about the topic itself. So especially the topic today I have selected for the ethics, it doesn't mean that ethics, we are here among the most ethical people, and here we know as the Indian community of the engineers, we considered as the more ethical community in our field. We have no problem at all about the ethics, but here our discussion is engineering ethics, not the general ethics itself. Normally our focus on the ethics is, whenever we talk about the ethics, we ignore it when it comes to the profession. We consider that ethics is only related to some honesty, these sort of the things, obedience or something. But in engineering, the ethics, we need to have the more focus on the profession. The profession itself about the interaction or development in our field. As we grow, as we get mature in our field, we need to grow. It is a continuous education. These are the things we need to focus. Ethics, the code of ethics has been established like almost a century ago in all engineering societies. But unfortunately, we don't have any access, we don't read it, and we don't have part of our curriculum in our studies, the ethics. I believe it's very important, and nowadays, even in Indian universities also, the ethics has been added in engineering as a subject itself, and in all Western universities already it's there since several years. And all the societies, education, engineering association societies, they establish the ethics standards, engineering ethics codes established, like if you say American Engineering, Civil Engineering Society of Civil Engineers, they established like in early 19s, 1914, 1915. By 1915, I should say that almost all the major engineering societies, they had the ethical codes, professional engineering ethics codes. But rarely we refer it, rarely we study it, and rarely we look into that. The reason is our approach to the ethics is we consider that something related to carrying out our job with lot of sincerity, hard work, obedience. No, this is not up to that part. This is only the part of it. There is a general standard, general canons of the ethics. But the other thing is a contribution to the profession itself, and for the professionalist also, for us as a professional, what things we need to take into consideration for the continuous growth of our self-growth, and what the contribution we carry out to our clients, our offices, companies, employees. These are the things what we need to consider, and I put some things here. The literature is available. Without going into detail, I will bring to you about the general standards and what's available in the field of ethics. So we need to look, and literature is available. We can approach to it, and definitely it will add a value to knowledge, and even in day-to-day dealing of our what we call it as the technical issues, whether we are in any field, design, construction, development, management and all. we come across many dilemmas, many issues. The important thing, how professionally we have to deal with it without entering into any major arguments or any major things. And when it comes especially design and responsibility, so there are many factors normally we ignore. But we have to make our that decisions based on the ethical standards, the professional ethics standards. That has been mentioned in almost all engineering codes. There are many different canons and the explanations are there. For myself also, when I studied, I came across many new things in that. We deal with it, but in a very casual way, in a very normal way, how we interact based on our experience without not taking into consideration the standards. And in our region, it's not that much importance. The reason is because in Western countries, everybody look, everybody talk, make the decisions based on the ethical standards of the codes. Like we follow our codes for the specifications, for the materials, for anything. Similarly, we have to look from the ethics codes from that point of view, as a code point of view, not just as a moral ethics or a code of conduct. This is what, in short, I mean to mention. Just now, I will take you in the slideshow very briefly as a bullet points. And because of this, there are the major accidents also happen just because of ethical issues, not because of the technical failures or something. So let's see, go with this. It's very simple. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is the right to do. This is the proverb quoted by Porter Stewart. This is one of the what we call it as the legal advisor in the US. That's the very known proverb related to the definition general ethics. It's not related to the engineering. And when we look into engineering ethics, it's like it is the professional ethics of and for engineers, and it assists engineers in shaping their professional responsibility through the formulation of general ethical principles and professional codes. Then again, I will emphasize on this part, we are not talking of any general ethics here, we are talking of the engineering that's in shaping their professional responsibility. So this is why today basically I am emphasizing on the second part of the ethics. There's the professional emphasis, not anything to the general ethics or the morals. And the another point, it provides methods and techniques for tackling the moral issues and dilemmas in work. This is what I can say about the related to the engineering ethics. And the aims of engineering codes of ethics are to set out the ideals and responsibilities of the profession, establish regulations to protect both clients as well as the professionals. That's what we need to focus in that, and improve the profile of the profession as well. Motivate and inspire practitioners, providing guidance on acceptable conduct, raise awareness and consciousness of issues, improve quality and consistency. These are all related to the aims of the ethics. And the codes of the ethics of professional engineering societies, there are several engineering societies almost everywhere, and I have selected only few, just mostly cover our field. One is from the Civil Engineering Society, ASC, American Society of Civil Engineers. Another is National Society of Professional Engineers, Institute of Electrical and Electronics, and Mechanical, American Society of Mechanical Engineers. All these ethics, these codes has been established by like early 19th century, 20th century in early 19th. These codes have very elaborated standards, codes and canons, and depending on our field, our interest, we need to go through it. So I will highly recommend this data is available on internet, and the books and codes are available. It's highly recommendable to at least to have a read through about this all ethics. Just I took as a one sample as the American Society of Civil Engineering Code of Ethics, and without going into detail, there are very few points, the fundamental principle, just to give you the idea, to bring all of your attention to go to that, to read it. What the fundamental principles of Civil Engineering Association is: engineers uphold and advance the integrity, honor and dignity of the profession. If you read this in the elaborated text, they have a lot of explanations are there related to how we have to tackle, how we have to interact, how we have to make the decisions, all these informations. And one of the principle is using their knowledge and skill for the enhancement of human welfare and the environment. And another is being honest and impartial and serving with fidelity the public, their employers and clients. This is also we need to look into that. Striving to increase the competence and prestige of the engineering profession. This is about also ethics. Supporting the professional and technical societies of their disciplines. We need to look into that. Hardly once we started our career, we enter into our day-to-day life, professional life, we are stick to our routine job. We need to emphasize how we can help to the profession itself, how we can, as in my preceders, they mentioned that how we can contribute to the youngsters coming up, and how we can enhance our knowledge, our practice also. And there are the very few canons it's mentioned, other than the fundamental principles. Engineers should hold paramount the safety, health and welfare of the public and shall strive to comply with the principles of sustainable development in the performance of their professional duties. Engineers shall perform services only in areas of their competence. We have a lot of issues nowadays. Sometimes it looks like much without having our knowledge. Sometimes a task be assigned and we enter into that without having the expertise or without having, and this is very common sometimes we come across at our projects. Engineers shall issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. If we can see, if you go to this code, there are a lot of elaborations about our reporting, how we are develop reports, how we write summaries and all, what should be our rule and how we should judge it, how should be, unbiased in that, it's mentioned in detail. And in continuation to that, engineers shall act in professional matters for each employer or the client as faithful agents or trustee and shall avoid conflict of interests. Engineers shall build their professional reputation on the merit of their services and shall not compete unfairly with others. Actually, this is a lot related to the self-confidence and self-growth in our field. Because it's not the hard working, a dedication, it's not only enough, we have to look, because as with the seniority, as we get mature, we grow towards, other than our basic responsibility of the engineering toward the management and the executive sides of that, so that we need to take into account. Engineers shall act in such a manner as to uphold and enhance the honor, integrity and dignity of the engineering profession itself. Another point, the engineers shall continue their professional development. This is more important, throughout their careers, where we stop. Actually, it's not day-to-day, means we need to continue our growth in our careers and shall provide opportunities for the professional development of those engineers under their supervision. This is also part of the ethics. And there are many case studies. Why I am putting the case studies without going into elaborating the case studies, I selected just to put it. Anyone can go into the details, like a very known ethical issues when a space shuttle Challenger disaster. The whole idea of this, the problem happened to it at that time. Again, it was the engineering versus managerial decision. When the Challenger space shuttle was ready to launch, and it was supposed to be launched when the temperature was more than like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But at the time of launching, the temperature was very low at the launching pad, and the engineer's decision was postpone the launching of the space shuttle, and engineers did not give the clearance. When the engineering vice president of that committee, he went to the management, when he informed that, the response, the question to the engineer was from the management side, look from the talk, from the management point of view, you represent as a manager, not as an engineer. So these questions normally we also face during our day-to-day things. And the decision was from the engineer at that time. He agreed with the management, okay, go ahead, just because of only the probability. What were the chances of getting accident or something due to the change in temperature? It's a detailed literature, it's very known, very available, one can read it. But at the end, soon after launching the space shuttle, the accident happened, it's burst. Again, it was just an ethical decision in that. And Bhopal disaster, we know all what was the big life loss in that. Again, is that negligence, maintenance issues, undercut, shortcutting. Because when the disaster happened, Bhopal disaster, there are the many things which were from the routine maintenance point of view, reporting point of view, all this was not taken into consideration. And same is another is a very structured point of view, the Hyatt Regency Hotel walkway collapse. It was the services of between the engineer and the contractor. Contractor changes his design, and engineers, the consultants at that project, they did not took into consideration the details, they did not pay attention to the contractors. When the case went to the courts and all, the statement from the consultant side, it was there. They have mentioned the contractor has changed without our approval, whereas from the contractor was claiming that it was informed to the consultant and all. So again, it's the matter of due diligence, responsibilities, and fairness. So these are the things. I related, apart from the ethics, something related to the attitude also is very important, as in. So this another is one of the proverb I have selected for just to make the importance between the attitude and the ethics. A profession is no better than its individual members if they do not have the professional attitude and live by the ethical rules of the profession. They will have no profession. It means the ethics and the attitude both we need to adopt, we need to take in our professional practice. And again, I will not go into the detail. There is a very famous, it is called Unwritten Laws of Engineering. It was written in early 1940s and it is continuously reprinting. It was first adopted by American Society of the Mechanical Engineers. It was printed in their codes, and since last almost 36 years, I should say that this is still keep on printing and it's very known. And the title of that is Unwritten Laws of Engineering. If you read in that, I don't have the time, doesn't permit to me go into detail, but I will highly recommend, please go through it. And only few points here I selected without elaborating. Basically, as an introduction to that Unwritten Laws of Engineering is, success in engineering depends upon a lot more than technical skill. Actually, we always focus on the technical skills, but we need to look from the other aspect also. The chief obstacles to success are likely to be a personal and administrative nature rather than technical. Being the professional, being the technical, we are the technically sound people, always we focus on the technical. But the things we ignore, we don't take into account is the personal and administrative nature of the things. We have to keep into mind since the day one we start our professional practice. So a commentary on this was written by W.J. King, Professor of Engineering, University of California at Los Angeles. And the title was, as I mentioned, The Unwritten Laws of Engineering. And following are very few I took, it's a very detailed, following are some of the basic law. However minimal and trivial your early assignments may appear, give them your best offers. So in our attitude, we cannot ignore when we are doing a task. Again, this is from the administration point of view and all, it's nothing to the technical. Even we have a very small task assigned to us, we have to carry out with the full, it's what needed to be completed in a best efforts. And the second, there is always a premium upon the ability to get things done, and this requires energy, resourcefulness and persistence. Before asking for, the third point is, before asking for approval of any major action, have a definite plan and program, work to support it. That's what this all nothing to do with the technicality of subject. I strive for consistency and clarity in oral or written reports. Be extremely careful of the accuracy of your statements. The things is where our personality, our image, image and our development established in our wherever we work among our team members is our approach that we need to focus. One of the first things you owe your boss is to keep him informed of all significant developments. Whenever your work affects another department or another employee, make sure they know what you are doing and why. These are very basic and small things, but we don't take into account, and that's create a lot of problems and that create a lot of hurdles also. Get the facts, make an analysis, apply judgment and make a decision and so on. The thing is very long. Just to make it short, we have all this related to attitudes, related to the personal development, growth, and all this we have to take into consideration as a part of the ethics, the professional engineering ethics what I should. Regard your personal integrity as one of your most important assets. That's what we have. I have to say that, and I will recommend please go through this whenever you get the time, whenever you have. It will give a lot of information. Because of the limited time, I could cover only few points. With that, I will close my discussions and thank you very much.
Now, I request Engineer Nasir Saab and Engineer Mohiddin Saab to felicitate Engineer Saleh Saab with a memento. A big round of applause, please. Thank you. Now, cross your fingers, throw your tension, and lead yourself for a win. Now we have few questions from the last two sessions. The first question is, when did Zamil got his name from Zamil to global architecture? Which year actually? Anybody?
1 second.
Zamil to global architectural.
1980.
2014? 2016.
2016.
Yes. Your name, please?
Amit.
Pass on to others. Now, next question is, what do you mean by ethics?
Just raise your hand.
Raise your hand, please. What do you mean by ethics? Just have a glass of water, please. You can answer.
Okay, you can give some hints of.
What do you mean by ethics?
Just give some hint to them.
Can you give
Give a hint to them.
After listening all this lecture about ethics,
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens.
okay, I will make it very simple. What is the difference between rules and the canon? Because ethics is related to canon. In all ethical code, we find it's written canon. So it's more like English. Let's make it simple.
For this also give a hint.
Okay. The difference between rules and canon, it's both interrelated.
No, I will give one hint.
Answer?
These are the morals for the professional.
You are answering that. Can you note down the name? Is this right?
Farooq.